Settle down, girls. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this new academic year. I hope all the students have had a good break and all energized to take up the new challenges of this year. Are you all ready? Okay. So you all are aware of the choice-based system. Chetan sir would be explaining it in a while for the second years. Third and fourth year people are aware of it. So we have put together a variety of briefs, which design briefs for you to choose from, which would give you new opportunities of learning, with each studio offering some unique theme and concept. So first, Chetan sir would be introducing. Later on, we'll start with the presentations. Second year first, then third, followed by fourth. You all are, sir would explain how to go about the selections. We'll circulate attendance sheet as well. You are supposed to sign in front of your name. In case your name is not in the list, please add it and sign. Attendance, make sure that you mark your attendance because it's important. Those who are not present won't be given preference while allotting the studios. So I hand it over to Chetan sir. नाही LMS का नाही कारण अजून स्टुडंट्स ॲडेड पण मग व्हॉट्सॲपवर देऊ शकतो ऑफिशियल याच्यावर कारण बरंच आहे ना कंटेंट हो बरंच सीचं तर खूप कंटेंट मग आपण शेअर करू व्हॉट्सॲप ते ऑफिशियल स्पेशल याच्यावर हां 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 नंतर
Hello, welcome, good morning. I talk about this every year. So your third and fourth year seniors, they have already seen it. All the teachers have seen it more than enough times. So they just have to bear with me. For second years, this is the first time. So for third years, I guess it's a refresher. We have what is called as a choice-based studio system. So till first year, you were in a division and then you were doing the assignments that the teachers had set for you. So in a way that was a passive way of learning. So whatever was set for you, you didn't have much of a say in what kind of assignments you were doing. Teachers would give you a brief, there would be some kind of a process, and then you would go about doing the assignment, submitting sheets whenever required, and getting marks. So that was kind of the way you did your design and basic design. From second year onwards, what we have in the college is what we call as a choice-based studio system. So we have 4 cohorts. So we have groups of 40, 4 in number, and we design 4 choices which you can pick up as your design studio for a particular semester. So you would have presentations followed by this introductory 5 minutes by me, and then note down what the studios are, what they are offering, and then depending on your choice, your inclination, you can choose to be in a particular studio. So in a nutshell, that is what we are going to do. What follows is a longer version of what you're going to do. So I've titled it as choosing to learn and learning to choose. So making choices, informed choices about your own learning trajectory in an institute, in this college, across these 4 years is a basic skill which is unique to college education. As against what you did till 12th, there has to be an element of self-control, self-regulation as we call it, so that your learning becomes more meaningful and more personalized. So again, till 12th standard or also till first year in architecture college, you didn't have much control, much choice over what you were doing. They were basically skill building years, and now hopefully second year onwards, you're more capable you are in a position to decide your own learning trajectories. College of Architecture is about many things. Central to that is idea of designing, or learning to design is the main activity, main core that defines any architectural college. Now this learning to define happens through many things. It happens mainly through curricular subjects. It also happens through extracurricular subjects. And then everything really centers on how do you learn to design, become designers in attitude, in character, in approach, as well as pick up the skills which are required to be called or recognized as a designer. There are two ways. This is my favorite metaphor of describing architectural education. So we can visualize it as two ways. This is a metaphor which I borrow from somebody called Brian Lawson, who's a researcher in architectural education. What you see on screen is image of a Model T Ford assembly line. If you know history of automobiles, so this was the first assembly line manufacturing plant. And what it meant was each person had a specific task. So you were either fixing nuts or bolts on right wheel, or you were doing steering adjustment or whatever. So each person had a very specific task, and the car would move on the assembly line, and you would get a product like thousands or 10,000 others, and they would be exactly same as each other. So it's called as an assembly line way of visualizing education. So essentially, society would say that you enter as raw material into colleges, so empty vessel, so there's no water in the vessel, you are just empty metal sheets or whatever you prefer to visualize it as, and then you have to be kind of bent, you have to be molded, bolted, welded, polished, painted, till at the end of 4 or 5 years, in the final year, you are kind of put into society as a finished architect, as a product. Which also essentially means that everybody gets same kind of treatment, everybody gets same kind of instruction or learning or subjects, and then everybody ends up being a same product. As against that, if you visualize your life in the institute as an explorer in a cave which is jewel studded, then that opens up a different world of possibilities of how you can take control of your education. This means that there are no set criteria for which jewels have to become yours. You have to move around, you have to explore, you have to see what takes your fancy, what you like, what you don't like, what you like too much of, what you like less of, and then you go on collecting. So you have this virtual bag of skills, attitudes, likings, which you go on filling up while you are spending these 4 or 5 years in the college. So at the end, you have a very customized collection of what your own jewels are like. So everybody has a different collection, everybody has a different choice. They choose to collect or even perhaps not to collect any of the jewels which the college or the institute offers. So this moves the initiative of learning onto you as students, and then college becomes a place where all the choices are offered, and there is scaffolding afforded to reach jewels which are not reachable. There is guidance afforded as to which ones are good, which ones are bad. There is perhaps also guidance on how to check whether that jewel suits your requirements or no. All that is what the college does, but ultimately calling something as your own, as something which you are passionate about and you want to make as your own skill, as your own developmental growth and so on, is up to you. So these are two models, and I like to believe that at Bnca we prefer this model of looking at you as explorers, as self-regulated learners who have some kind of a control over their learning trajectories. Okay, so 2 images for comparison. Make a choice. Hopefully everybody will choose the explorer model, and don't fall into the trap of the assembly line way of thinking. Choice-based studios, I talked about the idea of choice. What do they do? Choice-based studios offer opportunity for what is called as problem-based learning. So essentially all the design briefs that we have are problems, and they are design problems. Design problems are what is called as wicked problems. So they don't have a straightforward solution. It's not like mathematical multiplication or division. You cannot follow steps and then come up with a solution. There is no one right solution. Solutions could be many. The information is incomplete. The answers, you can't really judge whether they're right or wrong, and so on. So these kind of problems are called as wicked problems. And design studios really offer opportunities to learn how to solve these kind of wicked problems. They help provide scaffolding. So the facilitators who are there and even the other subjects that you take up during the semester provide some kind of a scaffolding. I hope everybody understands scaffolding. So you have this set of steps or bamboo structure, and if you have to reach a height of say 10 meters or 20 meters, you go on climbing it in stages. So you climb 3 feet first and then another 3 feet and so on. So gradually you end up at 20 meters. If you want to climb it at the first go, that's not going to be possible. But if you scaffold your learning, if you break it down into smaller steps, then it's possible to reach great heights. So it's a fairly well established technique of learning anything which is complicated. Whether you're learning dance or you're learning harmonium or flute or guitar, if you're learning flute, you're just learning how to hold the flute. So that happens for a week. If you're learning how to paint, then how to mix the paint perhaps happens for a lot of time. Then you're doing basic sketching. Then you're gradually looking at brush techniques and so on. So all these skills are scaffolded and they take a lot of time. They take around 5, 6, 7 up to 10 years to really become proficient in those skills. So similarly, design is also a skill which can be learned, which can be broken down into smaller milestones, and the design studios really help you to achieve these smaller milestones so that at the end or perhaps by the time you graduate, you become proficient architectural designers. Design studios also allow you to take what is called as meaningful risks. We are in a creative discipline, and it's not always if you keep on producing what pleases the facilitators, you don't always learn much. But whereas if you take meaningful risks, if you go out of your comfort zone, if you try design options or ways of doing design, use different tools which you are not so confident about, but which you want to try out, the end solution may not be perfect in any sense, but the meaningful risk that you have taken in perhaps using a particular software or trying a particular way of generating forms, that teaches you a lot. So we are in a peculiar situation where meaningful risks, although they may give you an inadequate or incomplete output, will learn or will teach you much more as compared to a very conventional straightforward design solution. So that is a peculiarity, and design studios allow you to take those kind of meaningful risks. So first years who were with me, they would remember we would encourage you to take risk, not really do something which is straightforward, commonplace, but something which allows you to go risk yourself, risk your academic whatever marks, and maybe lose 5 marks here, 10 marks there, but which teach you more, which help you to learn in a more meaningful way. The second part of the design studio is the design faculty or teachers. They perform various roles in a studio, and you should be aware of what exactly the faculty is supposed to do in a studio. As teachers, they help you distinguish between what is good and poor design. So what will take you to a solution which is satisfactory or good, or something which is not workable or which is poor. These are very subjective terms, and don't be scared of them. It's not like mathematics, unfortunately. So we have to live with these vague words and try to make sense of what exactly is good and poor. So faculty, the teachers, will help you understand this. They will monitor your time on task. So scheduling is a challenge, as I'm sure all first years have experienced, second years are experiencing, have experienced last year also. So how to really map your journey and give you useful milestones so that you can check your progress from time to time and ensure that at the end of the allotted time, the end of semester, everybody reaches a certain minimum threshold. So that monitoring of the time is something that your faculty is going to do. They're going to chart the way ahead, where you are, what is going to be the next step. Have you really reached that? Are you in a position to take up the next challenge in the design studio journey? So that is also what faculty checks for. At some times they will also work as consultants. So if you are stuck at a point, then they will give advice on how to take the design forward, how to solve a particular design challenge. And the last one I have crossed, sometimes faculty may shift into role of a designer, where your subjective likes and dislikes come into the design discussion, one-to-one discussion. Happens very rarely, but could happen. That's not something which is exactly encouraged. This is generally, if you heard of master classes, then that is where many times this kind of faculty as a designer comes in, or during your internship also. For example, if you heard of Frank Gehry, I'm sure everybody's heard of him. So he has what is called as a master class, and if you're working with him, then it means that his design ideas have to become yours. So that's a kind of direct transfer of design opinions or design do's and don'ts, whatever Franco Gehry holds as important, onto the intern. So that's something which we don't really encourage or won't really happen much, at least in the second, third and fourth year. So faculty or the facilitators working as designers. But as teachers, yes. As consultants also, to a large extent, yes. So these are the roles that the faculty is going to perform. How not to choose, important to remember. So you will have 4 choices, and you will know what these choices entail, what the programs are going to be, what you're going to learn out of them, and so on, through the presentations that we are about to have. Don't follow peer group pressure or group think. So everybody I know, I hang out with, or we have food every day, and the entire group says, or one member says that we should take this studio so that we are together, and so on, and then you end up choosing that. So please don't follow that. Don't choose just because something seems interesting. So learn to think beyond mere interesting. Why you are exactly choosing it, what are your learning goals, and so on. Sounds very easy, so I don't have to work hard. I can just do it, maybe skip couple of studios here and there, and it should be doable for me. Or don't follow that also, because you end up learning less. So that's not a good strategy anyways. The fourth one, which we have tried to eliminate this time, is you won't know the studio teams or the facilitators. When we are doing the presentations, Sharvir sir and me would be telling you what the studios are, and you won't know who the studio team is. So we want you to select the studios purely on the merit of what your learning goals are, what the studio is offering, and do you see a match between what you want to learn and what the studio is offering. Okay. Why do we choose? So we saw how not to choose. So this is about how to choose. गोल्डीलॉक्सची स्टोरी सगळ्यांना माहिती असेल. सो शी गोज इन टू दिस हाऊस ऑफ 3 bears आणि खीर ठेवलेली असते टेबलावर. So the first one that she tastes is too hot, and the mama bear's porridge is too cold, and the baby bear's porridge is just right, and she ends up eating it, and so on. So everybody, I guess, knows the story. This has given rise to the term called Goldilocks zone, and it's a popular term in education. What it means is, for any learner, unless they are in this Goldilocks zone where the learning is just right for them, they don't learn much. If the studio is too difficult for you, or if the studio is too easy for you, these are both extremes that you need to avoid. So any studio, any choice that you make has to be just right for you. Okay, so that's the key term. How do you understand what is just right? Is to follow the presentations, understand what exactly the studio teachers or mentors are saying that you are supposed to learn, understand what the ground rules are, how the studio seems to be proceeding, what are the kind of outputs expected, do they match, what are the kind of skills that they are looking for, and do you really have those skills, or are you willing to pick up those skills as the studio progresses. So these are going to be questions which will allow you to take a decision on what is just right for you. So that's very important first point. Choice-based studios help combat apathy. So you have this teacher on screen and who's saying, along with antimatter and dark matter, we have recently discovered the existence of doesn't matter, which appears to have no effect on the universe whatsoever. So if you don't have motivation, if you're not interested in joining the studio, universe at large, there's not going to be no impact. But as an individual, your journey is going to get impacted, and you are going to be one at loss. So please bear this in mind, that if you are not interested in doing a particular studio, teachers don't lose out. You lose out on what the learning is supposed to be. So be very aware, and once you've chosen, make the best of what you have chosen. Studios, once we say that you have chosen a studio, and 30 or 40 people who have chosen a particular studio are in a particular cohort, which means that they are invested. So they have a shared liking for that particular topic, and which makes the learning environment collaborative. You tend to collaborate with each other, you tend to fight also, which is absolutely fine. You have disagreements, you learn how to disagree in a meaningful manner, and then as a group you progress in a better manner, because there is something which is shared, something which is common, and which is your choice of the design studio. It also hopefully makes learning joyful. You have Calvin and his grades are poor, so his father is asking, why don't you enjoy school? He says that I've seen you reading all these dinosaur books and you know them by heart and so on. So what's so different about school? And then Calvin says that we don't read about dinosaurs. So you have a topic which you are passionate about, which you like. Unless the college or we as teachers don't offer you learning in that particular topic or area, then we are not doing your job, and then the learning is not going to be joyful. So this is again, as an institute, a way to offer you choice which will make your learning journey joyful. Every semester you would have choice, 4 choices. So choose something which will engage you, which you will find interesting. You will enjoy the entire semester that you are staying with that particular topic. So that is again what hopefully this choice based studio system will enable. Intrinsic motivation, as an institute we can try to have conditions which will promote intrinsic motivation. Finally it has to come from within you. There are external factors, how the studio is arranged, what kind of climate we have, what kind of institutional culture we have, how the faculty behaves, all that is there. They are external factors, but internally you have to be motivated. So Calvin says that I need skills which will effectively make me compete in a tough global economy. I want a high paying job. When I get out of here, I want opportunity. So teacher tells him that what you get from the school will depend on what you put into it. So that's kind of underlying statement. The more you put into your choice based studios, more you put into your design learning, more you're going to get out of this. So do remember that. Questions to ask yourself while choosing the design studio: what design skills do I have? What skills do I still need? Which studio will help me develop those skills? So as second years, you have a certain set of skills which are kind of common across all the 4 divisions. Do you feel you adequately have them? Do you have any extra skills? What are you looking for? What kind of design challenges are you looking forward to? And which studio will help you develop those skills? So look out for that. What do I need to learn about in relation to design processes? Various ways in which architectural design can happen, can be taught and learned. Do you have the confidence to experiment? Will the studio allow you to do that kind of experiment while you are doing designing? Are you ready to do something which is outside your comfort zone? And then do you think that studio again has a possibility where you would be able to practice that? What do you learn to know? What do I need to learn, or in what kind of studio do I need to be in order to grow in confidence as an aspiring architect? So that's again a choice. Look at the studio choices carefully. See what aligns with your learning goals. How you see yourself at the end of this 5-year journey or 10-year journey, and then choose accordingly. The choice may not always be right, but that's okay. So you get it every semester. So getting the choice wrong or not getting a particular choice studio is not end of life, but it's a step. So you kind of, next time you get the opportunity, you kind of correct yourself, see what went wrong, how much have you learned, what is still remaining, do you need to change the choices, or now what is the current choice going to be, and so on. So it's a continuous process. Every time you may not get it right, but that's okay. That's why you get it 2 times in second year, 2 times third year, and then 2 times in fourth year. So total 6 times you will get this, you will be offered these choices. You will also see the presentations that happen with for senior year studios. I would suggest that if you're looking at, for example, second years looking at the third year offerings, imagine what you would have chosen, and then ask your friends what they have chosen finally, why they have chosen it. Also ask them what has been their experience with that, and so on. So keep interacting so that you also are able to verify or see what these choices can lead to. Okay. So in the end, choice-based learning is just a means to the end and not the end in itself. So look at the presentations carefully, ask questions if possible also. We'll try to answer them as best as we can. But be aware there could be a lot of information. Try to understand and digest it. Keep on checking with your learning goals. If you don't have, start imagining what kind of learning goals you should have. So don't allow your learning to be, guided or overtaken by faculty. You have to become pilots of your own design journey. So best luck is the first step on your design choice journey, and thanks a lot.
सर म्हणतात नोटपॅड ठेवा आणि नोट्स घ्या. Okay, so we'll start with the second years first. This is the first time I'm presenting somebody else's studios. So this is not what I have done or I have planned. So there will be a bit of a gap in what the faculty would have said and I am saying. But as sir said, this is not something which we would like to do all the time. We definitely would like the studio faculty to present their own studios. This we had to do because we had a lot of feedback from faculty that students, more than everything that Chetan sir said should be the process of choosing studios, students go by the names of the teams, and that's not what we really want. So this time we have tried out this method of not disclosing the team, but so that you automatically focus on the content of the studio. So I'll present 4 studios that second year teams are offering. They are color coded, and so you remember which color is what. You, as Chetan sir said, also write down. You will be given a Google form at the end in which you have to fill your first, second and third choices depending on the color. You also have a set of questions there which you need to answer. Most of them are for us to understand how you think, how this system works. So the more sincerely and truthfully you answer those questions, the more it is better for us to improvise the system. You can do this at the end of the day. It does not happen on a first come first serve basis, so there is no hurry for you to fill the Google form. You can take the whole day to think of what you want to choose, and finally when your choices are with us, then we'll allot the studios perhaps tomorrow or the day after. So you have a lot of time to think. There is no race to select a studio. One more thing is from this year we have increased the studio timings for all second, third and fourth year was already 11 lectures. But now second year studios and third year studios will also have 11 slots in the week instead of 10. So on Tuesdays, काय करायचं? या ना. नहीं या.
Sorry to barge in like this, but today is a very auspicious day and it happens to be the birthday of Prachiti Kashid. So very she. See how the mahol changes the moment it starts celebrations. So we have to keep on doing and keep on celebrating birthdays and all other occasions. Let me congratulate Dr. Sharve sir and Dr. Chetan sir for planning out wonderful concepts in academics. I must congratulate both of them and other faculty members as well for wonderful experimentation in academics, not only in architectural design but in all other subjects. So I must claim that we are very lucky to have both of them and other faculty members, because I keep telling that I am the luckiest principal on this planet to have extraordinary faculty. Hire ek ek sagre. Okay? And why I say this, it's not just a flattering speech, but I keep moving across India. I have seen मी पळत पळत जिन्यावरून आलो. See what happened, that I being the youngest amongst the lot, I don't use lift and I keep running on the staircase. So I came directly from principal office to here, running on the stairs. So this is also a message to all of you that if I can, why not you? Okay. Of course, I understand your age, so thoda dhire dhire and the way you climb on stair and the way you come down from the stair, your body language is so wonderful that I keep wondering how these girls can actually climb and come down, because your body language is like this, you know. Kya baat hai? This is India's new generation. Okay. Anyway, so I keep moving across India and I keep inspecting many colleges, and I realize that there is a pathetic situation across India so far as architectural education is considered, and especially there is dearth of faculty, and the scenario is very pathetic, very depressing. In that scenario, we definitely stand out as Bnca, and more than 26 faculties in Bnca are PhD holders, they are doctorate. So clap on this side. They have completed their PhD at this stage of life, which was not easy. You know, taking care of their entire daily routine, they could complete their PhD. And there is a record across India of our PhD department, and of course on my name as well, that under my tenure as research head for Bnca, 50 registrations are complete. So 50 registrations under one person is a record in India. Okay. So why I am telling you all this, not to tell you that how great I am, you already know that, but why I keep telling this, that you should be proud of BNCA, your college, your alma mater. You know, it is, and you must take advantage of that. You know, I keep wondering that while at the time of admission process, all the parents and students, you know, they keep pressurizing me, minister ka phone, iska phone, chief minister ka phone, central minister ka phone, and after taking admission in BNCA, suddenly you take a back seat, suddenly you become cold, and I don't know where your enthusiasm goes. Understand this, that you are in BNCA, you make the best of your time here. Try to exploit your faculty from a positive angle. They are very knowledgeable. They are leading practicing architects and they are leading academicians in the world. Most of them have different collaborations across the world. Most of them are international faculties. They are invited abroad. So take maximum advantage of them. Be absolutely serious about your career. Be selfish. You know, don't be in a group of friends and not paying attention to academic. Don't do that. You can always, of course, rock in BNCA. There are so many other activities as well. But you must understand, when you are in BNCA, you are the best student. You should be the best student. Okay? So I was just sitting here for 2-3 minutes and I could understand that the efforts taken by Professor Sharve and Professor Chetan and my other faculty member in order to make this academic successful. So this is a very rare opportunity to have these people around. रोजच बघतो मग काय आहेतच शार्वे सर, आहेतच चेतन सर, आहेतच राजेश सर, हे अतिपरिचयात अवज्ञा असं होऊ देऊ नका. They are very special people and you must take advantage of their knowledge and knowledge base. Okay? Also, take advantage of all faculty, all facilities in BNCA, all activities in BNCA. See the kind of experiences we are getting. Otherwise, we'll close down such activities and we'll never tell even at the time of admissions that we have so many collaborations, so many tours, so many things. Professor Pulwa Kulkarni, the way she faced problems in organizing tour in collaboration with Singapore National University, I thought that that tour was so attractive, is so attractive. The moment she came to me with the proposal, I thought that out of 1100 students, at least 700-800 students will jump on that tour. So, what is your problem? Where your enthusiasm has gone? Well, Singapore is not that costly also. And you will be getting certificates from that university, BNCA. You will get to study high-rise building, and there are so many other tours. Kazakhstan and UK and Berlin and so many things are there. But why are you so cold, so pessimist? So why do you take backseat and do nothing? What is the reason? So this is surprising, and see, unless we get encouragement from students and parents, now let me tell you a fact, and to all my faculty members as well. See, one faculty member, one parent came to me and he asked me, sir, you promised so many things at the time of admission and there are no activities in BNCA. I started wondering, is it? And I gave him the list of activities, workshops, seminar, conferences, collaborations and so many things. And he said, sir, we don't know this. We haven't come across so many things in last year. Then I asked him whether, have you inquired with your daughter? Is your daughter telling you at home? He said, nothing, our daughter never tells anything. And then he was really shocked. Then he suggested that please inform the parents as well what's happening in the college. I told him that we keep informing parents through email. And we realized that some of the emails are wrong. And apart from that, he further suggested that, most of the time the moms are in touch with the daughters, the students. So, and moms normally not so easily go on email and they are not easily, the email is not easily accessible to them, it's not handy. So why not form WhatsApp group of parents and upload the information on WhatsApp group, so that the moms will know instantly, even while being in kitchen and wherever they are. It's handy to refer WhatsApp. So Sharvir sir, taking lot of efforts with the help of administration, he made groups on WhatsApp. So we uploaded this information on WhatsApp as well. There is not a single response from any parent. Shall we close down the college? Or shall we run as a government college? Shall we run as a very mediocre college? What do you expect from us? Think on this. Otherwise, it is very easy for my all faculty members to simply come on time, put the thumb on the biometric, while going put the thumb again and do nothing practically. Only they will complete the syllabus, and that will be the end of the in Bnca. Do you expect that? What do you expect exactly? Your parents are not responding, students are not responding. So this is a very, very worrisome thing so far as college life is considered in India. If you are going to be the future of India, why are you so anemic, without any enthusiasm? Why? What is the reason? This is the golden period of your life. You must rock these 5 years. Take maximum advantage. You have paid fees. You know, on the contrary, when we collect fees, we think that students will come and they will ask us that, sir, we are paying 2 lakhs rupees per month and you are giving us nothing. Question us. You are paying lot of fees. Understand? But you are not paying. Your parents are paying. That is the big difference. And that's why you don't value money. When you pay 2 lakhs rupees, you must be very particular about your academics and your college life, and you must come back and question us that we have paid 2 lakhs rupees. What you are giving, is it worth 2 lakhs rupees? Be selfish. You have every right to question us. And what is happening at the other end? We are giving you worth 10 lakhs rupees per year and you are not taking it. And when you go to buy a dress material, if the shopkeeper gives you, if you want to buy a dress material of 100 rupees and the shopkeeper gives you dress material worth rupees 80, how you fight? How you attack the shopkeeper? Why not here? We are all ready. Come on. So question us that what we are giving in rupees 2 lakhs. Are we not giving you technology? Are we not teaching you? Are we not giving you exposure to the current world trends in the world? Or are we not giving you any exposure through conferences, workshops, seminars, international tours, United Nations tours? What else you want here? You tell me. But we want all Bnca students must be absolutely vibrant. And I want all the professors to be absolutely strict about it. If you come across any student, I am addressing the faculty, if you come across any student who is not enthusiastic, who is not serious about these 5 years, you don't realize this is the golden period of life. You are never going to get a chance to live these moments again in life. So, value the efforts taken by faculty members, value their knowledge, value their competency, and value their experimentation, and we must get proper response. Okay? So we'll be very particular about it, that we are ready to give you worth rupees 10 lakhs every year. Are you ready to take? So think, this is, I suddenly entered into different temperament, but what I have said is very serious matter, because everybody keeps on taking lot of efforts and there is no response from your side. There are so many things in college, labs, high-tech softwares, then this immersive design lab and so many things, but you are not taking advantage of that. And students from outside, unfortunately, they being boys, they keep coming to college, but they can't get any facilities like you are getting, girls, but you are not utilizing those facilities. So respect money of your dad and mom and see to it that you are giving returns. Okay, don't be serious. Happy birthday to both of them again, and good that I could come to celebrate their birthday, so I got a chance. I barged in actually, and now my faculty members are so generous that now they tolerate that, and they are prepared that sometimes the principal will come in, barge in like this, and advise student and will go. So I thank Sharve and Chetan again and all my faculty members. When I see them sitting here, I can make out everybody and everybody's achievement. Wonderful faculty. You gave a very big clap. So, great. And always, every day, you should think and you should treat yourself grateful that you have got such wonderful faculty. Okay, all the best.
Thank you, sir. So, back to business. Okay, this is, I am assuming everybody must have looked at the syllabus. So it's Salu se? Nahi? Oh. Yeah, this is for second year. So we have a sessional and sessional viva at the end of the semester. It's a 250 mark subject, so it's the largest subject in terms of marks. So that way important as well. The syllabus says that the architectural design that you do, the syllabus has around 9 or 10 things listed of what design could entail. And it says that out of the 9 or 10 things listed here, which I am not going to read, the studio should at least deal with 3 or 4 in detail. So every studio that you have, perhaps they have chosen which focus areas that they want to teach you this year, and accordingly, as per your liking, what the studio offers, you choose your studio. Yeah, there are 2 projects that you need to do. One is a major project, which is going to occupy most of the time in the studio. And then there is a small short project, which could either be a week or 2 long project, or it could be a time project as well. So depending on each studio, there is a short project as well. Both are important, both need to be completed. Okay. So I start with studio yellow. So I don't know who is yellow. I don't know who is yellow. So I am assuming you two don't know who is yellow. This is a studio which deals with very real life situations. Where it says that you have to design 2 houses in the congested area of Pune city. So it's very rare that you get a very virgin site with a fantastic view to build on. Most of the times you get sites which are like this in the congested areas of the city or in already built areas of the city. Especially in the congested areas of the city, there are a few challenges which the further slides will talk about. So this studio deals with designing 2 houses, a pair of houses in this congested compact area of the city, somewhere near Kedekar Road, Narayanpet. So the studio focuses on looking at this typology of houses through case studies. So houses which are of this type where two walls might be shared, which are long plot houses. It also looks at how to deal with climate, how to especially deal with light and ventilation in these situations. What are the different typologies within this larger category of houses in congested areas? So what have people done? What are the variations of the typology that you see? Again, through case studies. Looking at activity analysis of how a house works. What are the different groupings in the house? So what are the different activity groups and how do you put them together to make a comprehensive house? Then it will go to a digital or analog, which is a physical model for massing exploration. So perhaps I think this digital will entail you, perhaps those who know Rhino, so modeling in Rhino or modeling in SketchUp, or a physical model, or both. So there will be exploration of massing through one of these means. Then it will go to a series of different possibilities or iterations or ideas through sketches, which you will develop further as a design. You are going to essentially work on a constraint because of the site. The constraints are very challenging and therefore you could be very creative with those constraints as well. The constraints being that always on these kind of plots you will have two sides or two walls, the longer walls, which are common, and perhaps light and ventilation, windows, views are restricted through those walls. As I said, light and ventilation mostly through the shorter sides of the house. So looking at the possibilities of how to take in light, how to facilitate ventilation, use of skylights, use of mezzanines, use of roof openings, etc. It's a very tight site, so you will have a limited area. So how do you expand vertically rather than horizontally, because it's going to be a deep plot? What do the codes, the building codes, say about it? And still using the codes, how can you be creative in such situations? And perhaps in these areas, houses are not only houses, so there will be some ancillary use, perhaps a paying guest facility, perhaps a shop, perhaps a boutique or whatever, along with the house. So how do you pair it with that house is another concern of this project. There are going to be a series of lectures. So there will be a lecture on how to do case studies, what case studies to do, what to learn from them, what to pick from them. Then there will be a site visit. Obviously it's nearby 3 kilometers from here, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Then there will be presentation and discussions about the site analysis, especially the microclimate and the context in which the site is situated. So what is in the surroundings, what kind of buildings do you have, what kind of road widths do you have, how is the access, etc., etc. Then you will have presentations, as I said, of this typology, of the variations on this typology, what other people have done. So you have some design ideas. So it's basically to generate design ideas. Then you will have discussions on proximity, adjacency, bubble diagram, zoning. So this comes as the functional part of your house. So how do you understand the function of the house? How do you identify which are private areas, which are semi-private areas, where to get which area should get the maximum view, which area should get the maximum light, which area should be visible from the street, etc., etc. So how do you put them together, how do you group them together, and how do you bring the groups together in a single house? Then you will have a separate session for designing of the facade, because this is the only facade in such a situation which is going to matter, the other two longer facades being the common facades. So how do you look at this facade as the only opportunity to express yourself and your building. So you will be using sun paths, shading device calculations, and a 3D software tool to design these facades, and demonstrate to draw sections through Rhino. Yeah. Did it have no? Sorry. So yeah, as the bold statement says here, that softwares like SketchUp, Blender, Rhino, etc. for 3D explorations are encouraged, and the facade exploration will also happen through the use of software. So 90% attendance, these are the expectations of the faculty, is mandatory. These are the expectations of the college as well. Then there will be cross-mentor juries. So within your class, you will have juries which happen within the faculty at different stages. Grading will be conducted based on attendance and progress in class. So attendance is going to be important. 50% of your marks will come through your progressive marking and mid-semester jury, and 50% of the grades will be submitted after final submission. And essentially, even though you are using softwares for the shorter problem and explorations, your design portfolio, the plans, elevation sections, the basic drawings of the studio have to be made by hand. So that is the expectation. So that is about Studio Yellow. So then we move to Studio Blue. So Studio Blue is where you see the blue sky, actually a bit away from the city. So it is actually exploring an urban house situated on the peri-urban areas of the city. So in this case, Bhugao. There is a project called Forest Trails where this plot will be located, and the focus of this studio is responding to this urban context, looking at structural innovations. So rather than just planning form, etc., looking at structural innovations, incorporation of design philosophies. So perhaps the faculty, the lectures will talk about different kinds of approaches, different kinds of narratives that architects have talked about or architects have thought about for a house, and then responding to those. It would be a tall order to say to have your own philosophy, so that's not expected, but at least incorporating somebody else's philosophy in your design and exploring your own scheme and form. So this site, as I said, is located in Forest Trails, Bnca Pune. It has a good urban connect, but also a good view towards the valley. So it has the advantage of both. It's an urban site, but without the constraints of what a usual urban site has. So it's partly in the lap of nature, and at the same time has all the surrounding facilities that you need for a house. This studio expects you to understand again and evaluate the different typologies of such a house, of an urban house on an open plot of land. This will happen through case studies, and the parameters of the case study is something that the faculty will tell you of what to look at in the case studies. Similarly, as the first project, you will look at function, circulation, adjacencies. So the functional aspect is almost the same for all the projects, not only these two, but all the projects. You will explore spatial envelope here, because it's a freestanding bungalow, so all sides matter, not just the two which are facing the road as the first one now. So how do you design that spatial envelope, or how do you design all the sides of the bungalow? So not a standard window pasted all over on all the 4 elevations. How do you look at different kinds of structural systems? So perhaps you are not conversant with different structural systems, but the studio will expose you to different kinds of structural systems, and the various materials that could go in building a house, especially local materials, and the systems, structural systems associated with those local materials. It also talks about community interaction and socio-cultural connections through design development. This might have some component of talking or survey of the local people, of the surroundings, of what the socio-cultural milieu of the place is, and then kind of responding to that through your design. Exploring the connection of indoors and outdoors, because as I said again, this is a larger site. The outdoors is as important as the indoors. So you will be designing both the outdoors and the indoors and how to integrate the two together. These are different sessions, including a visit to Bhugao. As I said, there will be a presentation on structural systems. So structural systems seems to be the central idea of this studio. And presentation on SketchUp as a presentation tool is what is encouraged. Again, 90% attendance. Exploration through models rather than just drawings. So a 3D exploration, especially as I said, because it talks about materials and structure, rather than just looking at plans and 2D drawings, it would encourage you to think in 3D through models. So it will also have common discussions, peer reviews, etc. This studio works on a mentor allotment system. So you know there are two different systems that studios follow. One is a mentor system where one teacher takes care of 10 students, and the other system is an open system where you could show it to anybody in the class. So this studio will follow a mentor system, so you will have one mentor assigned to you for the entire length of the semester. So that was Studio Blue. Now we have Studio Green. So this is again a studio with a very different brief, different than the other two. This is about small or micro housing, as some may also call it. So this is about small houses, and as you know, there are lots of instances, and there are a lot of studies also about how a house grows incrementally over time. So a house is not a final product which remains the same throughout its life, but houses go on increasing as well as decreasing, but definitely increasing. So as times change, one tends to add to one's house. So terraces become rooms, one unit becomes two, there is a shop added, whatever. So there is an incremental sense to housing, and this studio talks about that incremental units and incremental small units. So it has two focus areas. One is it is designing small units, and second, it is looking at how small units grow incrementally over time, and how do you plan for that. COs would be or the course outcomes would be more or less the same, but the difference would be that how do you design micro habitable spaces, how do you make them multifunctional, how does the same set of activities which you did for a large bungalow also happen in a very small tight space. So that's something this studio will look at. How do these small clusters come together? How do they form clusters? What is the kind of interaction between these small houses? So what are the common areas that happen? How do you cluster them? How many of houses form a good cluster? So all the ideas about clustering of houses rather than just a single house. And as a system, as a structural system, as a services system of, say, connecting all your electrical ducts, collecting all your toilet ducts. So there is a complexity of some level to the services of the house. So this studio will also look at the structural and the services part of a group of houses rather than just a single house. So this studio will have a site visit to a nearby college, site visit nearby college, not to a nearby college. Then it will have, understand, it's more or less the same as I said, but they will talk more about micro housing. Site planning, because site planning is important because it's a group of houses now, not a single house. So you will have to decide on where to put which clusters, how many clusters to put, whether to put clusters one on top of the other or one next to the other. So that site planning aspect also comes into play. And obviously, as I said, you could do it in so many different ways because these are small module kind of houses. You could imagine anything from, say, the Japanese modules that you might have seen, or the concrete modules that I don't know whether you have seen those, but in Montreal, or you could look at container housing, which the youth hostel in Pachgani or that kind. So it's essentially a module which will come together with a specialized kind of a structural system. So that's what the focus of this studio is going to be. And there is a minor project which says you design an entrance gate and a compound wall with a security cabin for this group of houses. So those are the two projects that Studio Green will have. More or less the studio policies are the same. This studio has an open mentor system. So all 4 faculty members will be available for all of you. So you could really choose and pick and say you show it to one faculty this time, the second faculty the next time. This also has session feedbacks, a ThinkPad for studio explorations, and software usage is allowed for volumetric explorations. So this is not too heavy on softwares, but you could definitely use perhaps the basic softwares like SketchUp or Rhino or whatever you know for volumetric explorations. So that was Studio Green. And the last one is Studio Red. So Studio Red again is an urban bungalow in Kothurud. So it's a blend of modernity, so a modern house with traditional aesthetics, using sustainable materials and construction techniques. So this will tell you what the focus of the studio is going to be. So you look at modern functions, a modern house, but with some cultural traditional aesthetic values attached to it, and how do you interpret those values in a modern house, and at the same time thinking about not only construction and materials, but thinking about them in a more sustainable way of what should be used, what shouldn't be used, etc. So an introduction to what are sustainable materials, what are sustainable construction practices will be the focus of this studio. More or less, again, this studio will progress in the same way with a study of archetypes, massing, form development, structural considerations for load bearing. So essentially this is going to be a load bearing construction. So as the other studio was high on exploring different structural possibilities, this one actually says that it's essentially going to be a load bearing construction, and you find possibilities in this kind of structural system. And materiality, again with a bracket saying all this thought about in the larger, under the larger umbrella of sustainability. Okay, the lectures that are proposed are the theoretical understanding, especially about urban housing and sustainability, I guess. It talks about functionality, as all the other studios would also talk about. This also talks about openings and facades, because as I said, it is about looking at tradition and culture and interpreting that in a modern house. So the imageability of the house is something which is going to matter to the studio. So facade design again here will take precedence. Sustainability, so you will be told what sustainability is. Perhaps there will be a discussion in class about what are sustainable materials, how to use local materials so that the overall impact is more sustainable. What is the different or what is the varied material palette which you could explore. And as a process, the studio focuses on iterative experimentation. So you are supposed to generate a lot of options and evaluate each option back and forth. So it's not going to be a linear process. So there will be discussions on different options so that you perhaps take a stock at a stage and then perhaps go back, improve, and then again discuss, and perhaps again go back and then try a third option. So it's going to be a back and forth process. Physical models are going to be important in this design process. And there are some readings which are essential for this studio. Precedents in design. These are all available in our library. Analyzing architecture, form, space and order. This you must have already gone through in your first year, and pattern language. So these are some of the readings that this studio recommends before or perhaps during the course of the studio. Studio policies, again, most of them are the same. This studio also has an open mentor system, so that you could choose to show to different faculty and discuss with different faculty members of your team. It will also have peer reviews. We will anyways, for everybody, as we do it every semester, have a jury day. So that is a part of all the studios. And we will have session feedbacks so that the studio progresses depending on your feedback. So that was Studio Red, and that's the end of the 4 studios that we offer for second year. So just to revise, there was a Studio Yellow, which was a core city house with a certain set of restrictions and exploring facade design with software. Then there was a peri-urban house with an open plot single house facing a valley, and which explored structure and 4 facades and the design of those facades with shading devices, etc. Then the third studio, Studio Green, was about micro housing, clustering of houses, incremental growth of houses, and innovative structural systems for those houses. And the fourth one was about sustainability. It is also an urban house, but about sustainability, using culture and tradition and the clues from culture and tradition in a modern house. So those are the 4 different choices that we offer for the second year studios. Think about all these choices of what you want to do. Take your time. At the end of the day, put in your choices in the Google form. Don't rush. So thank you so much. I would advise you to sit through the third year presentations and then leave and let the fourth years come in. So we want you to look at the third year presentations, because as Chetan sir said, you could also start imagining what you would want to do in the third year after you have gone through a certain process in the second year. तू थर्ड ईयर से 2 करतोस, मग मी करतो. हो नाही नाही, मी थर्ड इयर से माझे करतो, तो आधी त्याचे करेल, मग मी माझे 2. थोडा ब्रेक. हा माझा आहे. तुझा फोल्डर याच्यात आहे ना.
ठीक आहे.
हां, म्हणजे हे तुझ्याच इथे आहे, म्हणजे मी नंतर करीन. तुझं 2 झाले.
यात सगळे नाही आहेत ना.
यात 2 आहेत. 2 झाले की थांब, मग मी करतो माझे 2, मग तू 4 कर.
Okay, should we begin? So third year studios now. I'll present two of them. Then Charve sir will present the other two, and then we'll go on for the fourth year presentations. Uh, this is the syllabus. I hope everybody has seen it. You know what is expected from you. You have been doing design for 3-4 odd semesters now. Again, there are aspects listed in the syllabus, and from which the design team, the facilitators who are organizing the studio, would pick and choose certain aspects to highlight. So idea is that although even if all the aspects are important in any design process, a semester or a studio chooses to focus on a number of them, because tackling all of them in a given project is almost an impossibility. So there are focus areas, there is emphasis, as you would have perhaps heard in the second year presentations also. Although the syllabus content is same, all the 4 options are kind of different. So they are dealing with houses, but their focus areas are different. What they emphasize on is different. So that's again the idea of having a choice based studio. Okay. There are certain common course objectives which are common across all the 4 studios, and then there would be a set of different or unique objectives which are specific to a particular studio. I'll just quickly run through the common objectives or outcomes as we call them. So these are the learning outcomes. So this is essentially what you will be learning in all the studios, regardless of what choice you make. Project argument, to identify activities and spaces through precedent studies, develop an area program. These are again skills which are important, especially for your thesis semester, where you are developing design brief from scratch. So this studio or all the third year studios will offer you a choice or offer you a opportunity to really understand how to develop design briefs or space program. Understand and document locations on the settlement map, proximity. So understanding larger context of your site and how do you really map it. So what goes into understanding context of your site. So the studios will expose you to that, how to document it, the built and the unbuilt environment both. To design and develop a campus, demonstrating response to location, zoning. If there's a contour site, how do you really tackle it? Retention of important natural features, how do you integrate them into the landscape layout of the campus, and so on. So once you situated your particular site in a given context, urban context, rural context, whatever the case may be, how do you really incorporate that understanding in your particular design solution? Analyze the site. What are the techniques of analyzing site and understanding it, documenting it? What are the processes? There's something called slope analysis, something called prospect and refuse. There are views, there are water flows on the site. All of that would be part of what we know as site analysis. Assign levels. After you analyze the site, how do you go about placing buildings? If your land is sloping, then how do you exactly choose what level to put the building on? How do you make it flat so that a building can sit? And then what happens to area around the building block? And how do you connect different blocks? So all that becomes part of how do you tackle a sloping site. To define the climate zone, analyze and document macro and microclimate of the site, and to determine and document passive design strategies. You have had climatology, I guess, in second year. So now it goes a step further and asks you to analyze climate of a particular site and then come up with a set of strategies, passive design strategies, which you can incorporate into your individual building design. And then analyze a campus which reflects the passive climate control. So once you understood and analyze the climate, what exactly is the implication in the design in terms of orientation, in terms of opening sizes, understanding wind directions, smaller openings in the windward direction, larger in the leeward. How do you design shading devices? Where do you put horizontal shading devices? How do you calculate them, and so on. So actually understanding the climate, being able to analyze it, objectively have a set of strategies and implementing that into your building design. So all the third year studios will hopefully take you through this process as well. Identify and analyze organizational principles. Once we say that we are designing a campus, these studios are essentially about more than 2 building blocks which are put on site. And once you say more than 2 building blocks, it means that the distance between these blocks has a meaning or has an implication on how the campus is going to be experienced. So what are the strategies for doing it? Are there any ways in which you can organize these building blocks? What should be the criteria? And then how do you actually use it in your design? What is this open space design? So all of you are used to designing the built form enclosed spaces. What happens outside the building? How does it connect? Should it connect, not connect? What roles does open space have? Should there be an activity brief for the open space? And how does it become part of your overall design program? So as a campus, again, across all 4 studios, open space design will be important concern. It goes hand in hand with what we traditionally understand as the built or the architectural or enclosed space design. Analyze zoning. If you have multiple buildings, they have multiple functions. Are there any zones? Is there something which is public, semi-public, private? Is there student area, faculty area, or any kind of, depending on the kind of campus that you are designing? And how do you segregate these activities? How do you put them next to each other? What are the do's and don'ts of that? That also becomes part of understanding a campus. Explore volumetric alternatives, select form. So that I guess continues from second year. So you are designing volumes, you are exploring forms and then analyzing them, seeing which is appropriate and suitable to the campus that you are designing. Site level services, an understanding of what goes into site level services. So perhaps you are familiar with what goes into a building, whether it's plumbing, sanitation, water supply, HVAC, and so on, lighting. And then what happens at the site level? Where do you locate your water supply tank? Where do the drainage lines collect? How is the pedestrian movement network organized? How is the vehicular network or vehicular circulation organized? So all of these services become part of, again, all the campus design studios. And then apply structural systems and then represent the components adequately. So we not only expect you to have an understanding of what structural system you are using, but how do you actually show that in your drawings? How do you show the beams? How do you show the slabs, slab sunks if they are required? In your plan, do you so have a sense of framing? Is the building properly framed so that it will stand, and so on? So all these structural aspects also become part of all the studios. I start with the studio red. The title is The Other C. Academic context. Academic projects are always framed around the same context. An appropriate response in this context assures an interesting design. So quite often there is no strong existing context, and how do we make projects interesting in this case? So that will be the larger concern that the studio wants to address. Also an academic obsession, but without clear definition of framework, a topic of confusion among students and faculty both. So the idea of context and what exactly do you do with this elephant in the room. What can be called as a concept? What doesn't qualify as a concept? Many teachers have keep on asking this. What is the concept? Show us the concept. Where is your concept sheet? And so on. So I guess everybody's heard it number of times, too many times in fact. So again, how do you understand what exactly is a concept, and how do you use it as a tool for your design process? Does something as basic as a response to climate also qualify as a concept? I'm sorry, it's always concept. I'm too used to the idea of context, so this is a foreign word for me. Is it necessary to have a concept? Are buildings without a concept uninteresting? If you don't have a so-called design concept, does it mean that there's no merit to the kind of design you're doing? How are concepts generated? What are the ways of doing that? Is it about basic design? Are there different pathways to generating concepts? What do great architects do, and so on? So the studio would be exploring all of these questions related to design concept. Architectural concept, any idea that you start your design with, and then there is conceptual architecture. So uniqueness of the idea, which has more value than its practicality. So these are kind of two extremes, And I guess the studio would explore these extremes of what it means to have a concept as a part of your design process. Yeah, so the intent of the studio lies somewhere in between. You would be focusing on ideation techniques, mind maps, random combinations, manipulative verbs, scamper. These are fairly well known techniques. You may not know the words, but the studio team would be walking you through all of these techniques and how to use them. What are the sources of inspiration? I guess in first year you've come across this in your basic design assignments. Architectural isms. So beyond the typical sources of history, memory, fantasy and so on, are there any other sources? So for example, philosophical positions which different architects have taken across time, and can it become part of or source of a design concept? What are the various philosophies of teaching and learning? Personal memories or experiences, fantasies, mimesis, geometry, abstract art. So the list which is at the bottom, I guess you're familiar through your basic design first year, first semester, and the other ones you may not be so familiar with, but during the course of the studio you would come to be familiar with it. What the project is? So project is going to be a residential learning facility, an ashram shala for tribal children in Melghat. No, that's not the project. A CBSE residential school near Pune. That is what the studio plans to take on as a design assignment. It's a neutral assignment and there are no context based clues. So context per se, the understanding of surrounds, is not so much a focus area of this studio, but generating a concept where you don't have a strong context, nothing strong which surrounds the site, becomes more challenging, and then you're focusing more on this central design idea. So what do you do if there is nothing which tells you what kind of design you should be having, and then what are the ways in which you go about ideating? So that's going to be the central focus. Project specifics. Learning infrastructure, opportunities for informal learning besides the formal setup of classrooms, labs, library, hobby rooms. So those will be there as special infrastructure, and then plus how you could bring in this idea of informal learning and what kind of infrastructure would you like to propose. How do you form communities if it's a residential school? How do they become a community? Living spaces for students and staff, and will they have an bearing on the kind of learning environment that the school is going to have. Open spaces for games, recreation and performance, and again how does it integrate with the learning spaces, how does it perform as a cohesive whole. So there are three basic components. One is the learning infrastructure, ideas of community because it's going to be a residential school, and the open spaces which will have activities which essentially happen outside, and how all of these three combine to form a cohesive learning community. What will you learn? So these are the individual or the studio specific course outcomes. Developing a built up area program based on anthropometric studies. So developing a program right from basics is going to be one of the important outcomes. Envisaging outdoor activities, defining their spatial requirements. We are used to having a design brief for built spaces, classroom, where you will have learning, teaching happening and so on. But if you talk about the outside, something which doesn't have any built component, what are the activities and how do you have a design brief for these kind of spaces? Site analysis, identifying and adopting inherent design clues, modifying contours, negotiating gradient using steps, slopes and retaining walls. So conceptual basis, framing your own question, deriving a concept via ideation techniques, using non-architectural ideas and concepts as source of inspiration. So framing your own question is going to be important in this studio, which basically means that there is a standard studio program and then you have to have your own take on what's going to be your own driving question for this particular studio. So it asks you, it invites you to have your unique version of the problem which is being set for the studio as a whole. Applying ideas like Gestalt theory, sense of enclosure, sequential experience. So these are theoretical tools available which allow us to analyze existing campuses and then which also allows us to implement or apply these principles in our own designs and evaluate them as well. So knowing the theory and exactly what tool is going to have what kind of impact on your design will be helpful, and Studio will take you through analysis as well as application of these ideas. And then finally, it's about architectural character and language, which includes form, facade articulation, building elements, and various details associated with it. So you're kind of going from a scale of, let's say, around 1:50 and then going to a scale of around 1:10. So that's the range of scales that you would be exploring. Studio methodology, the team expects you to kick off your design proposal from any aspect other than circulation and bubble diagrams. The team will help you to develop your own concept. The team will not encourage documentation of all case studies at the beginning, but at different points during the studio journey, you will have different case studies which will look at different aspects throughout the semester, and then the outcomes will be specific. Study models will be used very regularly to generate site plan. Theory content would be covered as far as possible as hands-on workshops and not as lectures. So there is going to be active participation of you as studio participants into understanding or decoding theory as well. You shall be ready with workable set of drawings by around 12 weeks, so that's 3/4 time into the semester. The next 4 weeks shall be spent on developing architectural character, landscaping, rationalizing structure, and service layouts. So once your basic design layouts are ready, how do you really articulate, refine, iteratively go through all of these aspects till you have a kind of a mature output at the end of the semester. So that's what the studio aims at. And there will be small, independent and marked exercises covering every stage that will lead to evolving your final design, which means that if you skip a studio, you are skipping that particular output or the assignment, and then you are skipping that marking as well. So how to solve that if your absence is kind of inevitable, how do you resolve it, and so on. So that will be part of detailed studio policies, but the expectation is that you are regularly present, you are working in the studio, and then submitting at the end of every studio small assignments, taking small steps till you reach your larger goal at the end of 12th week, and a resolved design at the end of 16-week journey. So that's going to be the studio methodology. There are no assigned groups and mentors. So the mentors, you can consult everyone. The team will give you suggestions based on varied expertise and experience, which may be contradictory. Finally, you decide how you want to further your design. So you could have advice coming from two teachers which apparently seems to contradict each other. The team expects that you are able to evaluate, analyze, and then accept what to follow, what not to follow, and have a reasoning or a rationale for it, or ask your faculty for clarification. There will be pin-up presentations, so commenting on everyone's work. So not just saying that my work, teacher has given me comments, now I'll kind of go back into my own shell. That will not work, but the team expects that you are commenting actively on everyone's work. And then through this kind of a dialogue between peers, interacting on your peers' designs will lead to a better understanding of the design process. The studio shall follow schedule rigorously. You would be expected to keep pace with the studio because there is a lot to cover. I guess that's true for all the third year studios. There are workshops, site visits, tours planned, visit to a residential school near Pune, visit to a local campus to understand aspects of open space character, studio workshops to understand campus planning typologies based on figure ground, placemaking, linkages, studio workshop on understanding psychrometric chart. So that's the climate understanding. I guess you would have been introduced to these techniques, but this would be an opportunity to freshen up and actually be able to relate that understanding to actual design solutions. And there could be some guest lectures which have not really been decided as of now. Prerequisites, you should be able to enjoy working with your hands. You should be willing to read, reflect and discuss texts that may be handed out to you. Devote at least 2 hours per week as the library time to increase your architectural repertoire. So what is the kind of vocabulary that you use and once you're forced into talking not only about your project but your peers' designs also, how do you go on enhancing or improving your architectural language? And then basics of AutoCAD and SketchUp. So be ready to live with ambiguity, experiment, fail and retry. That is what the studio is inviting you to be. Key takeaway: merely having a concept is not enough. It takes rigorous effort to translate it into a viable architectural building. There is assessment criteria, major project, minor project, and thank you. So that's for Studio Red. I start with Studio Yellow. So the project is going to be National Institute of Design. So designing a campus in an urban setting. It looks at what a design institute is and what is so different about designing a design institute as compared to a management institute or commerce or economics based institutes. The aim of the studio is to design the design institute where architecture should reflect its era while embodying timelessness with its character defined by the relationship between function and the location. Key focus area that the studio will have: experiential design. At the eye level, at the level of visitor, how do you experience a campus, which not only teaches you but also empowers in form of spaces and accessibility. Climate is again one of the focus areas. Collaborative spaces, since it's going to be a design institute particularly, so creating fluid spaces that collaborate or collaborate with learning and practical experience. Evolving and adopting spaces, so spaces which allow for that kind of evolution based on future needs should be considered, and the center should evolve with time. So that's again a key requirement or a key emphasis area that the studio has. Studio objective: to demonstrate impact of climate orientation, passive cooling strategies in planning of the campus. Application of organizational principles to define character and language using form and facade. So it's as far as objectives, it does have a significant overlap with what the first studio was talking about. I guess all the fourths will have this as central concerns. To design collaborative learning spaces, to understand placemaking, how the in-between spaces within the campus can become memorable experiences for the students, and to design buildscape, hardscape and softscape. So along with built, what is this idea of hardscape and softscape, and how does it contribute to making a group of buildings into a livable or a enjoyable campus. Studio methodology, it seems to be cyclic. So step 1, you're defining. Step 2 is you're collecting information. Step 3 is about brainstorming and analyzing. Develop solutions, get feedback, improve your design, and then again define the problem. So kind of iterative nature. Idea is that once you come back to step 1, you have shifted in the Z axis and you go on in circles. I hope you understand the iterative way of designing, and you improve with each iteration. Studio will be conducting a study to identify patterns in a campus. Christopher Alexander's pattern language, I guess almost all of you would be familiar at least with the name Christopher Alexander and what this pattern language is all about, as well as Yatin sir's elements of space making. So these become central texts which will help you navigate this studio. A visit to Bangalore is planned to understand campus planning in urban setting, to experience campuses and to apply the learning in the design process. Is that it? Okay. So you have first studio which focuses on process and looks at this idea of concept and what are the ways in which you can operationalize this idea of concept.